Hello everyone, Cliff Bumel here again on our YouTube channel talking about some things having to do with Grizzly Clonal rootstock, what we're seeing as we roll this out. And also there's a bunch of other interesting stuff going on here. Real quickly, so this is a orchard planted this last spring, February or March of 2022. And these were planted as these tall, 9-foot tall bare root trees from the nursery, and as you see behind me, scaffolds the first year. So most people would assume this is a 2-year-old orchard. This orchard is a new orchard planted after 50 years of Hartley's on sandy loam, no fumigation, and the grower has confidence to plant these tall trees and establish scaffolds the first year so he can get into production sooner, prune minimally if at all, just low limbs and things like that, and only have to stake them for the first year, and less pruning, less breakage, earlier yield, bigger trees earlier. All the yields are bigger earlier with no prune. We know that from the research. And then starting with a tall tree like this, you get into production sooner. And it's basically a win-win. We don't see any downside from any of this. So I'm going to grab the camera off the tripod and look a little bit, but just to maybe repeat myself, this is the new variety UC Wolfskill. We're just all calling it Wolfskill. Seems to look an awful lot like a Chandler, but much better edible yield, but the same wonderful attributes we like of early yielding in the life of the tree. Light meats that stay light all the way through the process, and so there's a lot of excitement about Wolfskill, and so it was great that we could put Wolfskill on Grizzly walnut rootstock, and the grower in this replant non-fumigated site could establish these trees with a tall bare root tree from the nursery, so we can get into production sooner here. He can get into production, and we can really get added information on Wolfskill, and is it really going to hold up and continue to put out these large crops with nuts that have high, maybe 4 or 5% higher edible yield than Chandler, harvest 3 weeks ahead of Chandler, and light meats, and so on and so forth. So lots going on here. I'll do many videos on this orchard over the year, but I'm just going to walk it so you can see that, yes, he has microjets that he'll get rid of this winter and go to his permanent set sprinklers here and keep the spaghettis and the microjets for the next orchard he puts in. But I think you'll be impressed by what you see in replant, non-fumigated ground, very sandy, and these trees. Most people would assume they're 2-year-old trees and they'd be happy with the growth they see. So let me grab the camera and walk. So I'm gonna just walk this way. So like I said, planted as a tall tree. You do get a few of these, but the idea is we want to leave all the growth so the tree has the maximum amount of leaves to make the maximum amount of roots underneath it the first year. And we've still got some small scaffolds up there, and since we've been working on this now for 10 to 15 years, we'll remove that, and actually somebody's going to use that for budwood because this variety is in big demand now and limited supply, so those branches will probably come off in the next couple weeks. And then that tree next year will just really explode from those smaller branches. So you get a few of those. We learned not to try to micromanage a tree the first year. Let it put out the growth where it wants and build a huge root system. But still, he's got branches up top, and that tree will pretty much blend in with the rest of these. But as you can see, most of the growth is up where you want it. So let's try to look at one here in detail. And these trees were they were all sort of in the 3/4 inch, 7/8. See, that tree it's hard to see in a video. That tree was about 10 feet tall, I'd say, at planting, maybe 9 feet. And, that's 7 to 8, 9 feet of whip growth, and very consistent as well. So that'll be this low branch is gonna be somebody's perfect budwood here in a week or two. But you can look down the other way, same thing. You can see it's not quite beach sand, but it's close. Sand gets worse in another part of the orchard. But yeah, so given the propensity for Wolfskill to put out spurs and set, which we really saw just from the tree pushing off the trunk from the nursery, every branch that pushed out set nuts. Really crazy, almost every one of them. Here, a double up there. That's from the nursery row. So what we would expect is every one of these whips to push spurs and set, and have to manage the water next year. That's one reason. That's also another reason with this technique that we want to leave these low limbs, is to actually take away some of the vigor from the top, because you are going to get nuts to set in the second leaf, and you want shorter limbs up there that aren't going to be quite as crazy long whippy when they set the crop. You have to manage the water so you don't get the tree too overhydrated where it wants to break. But if we leave these lower limbs that then come off here this fall for budwood or in the winter, these low limbs kept all the growth from going to the top. We want to limit the top growth a little bit. We got plenty, considering these trees have been in the ground all of 5 months. And so, yeah, we want to limit that to an extent. So, and we really hope we don't get a massive, I should say the grower doesn't get a massive set here. But I say we because we're working on it closely, managing things and all that. Helping him think through the different moves that he needs to do to make this a success. So anyways, he's very happy, but he's done this before, so he's not surprised. But pleased that, again, he's paying a lot for a tree from a nursery. The nursery spends a lot of money to make a big, fat, bare root walnut tree. Traditionally, we've cut most of it off and spent the first several years just trying to make a tree. I think everybody was wasting time and money. And I think nuts in the second leaf, third leaf, getting back some investment given the prices of walnuts now. Cash is king, cash flow is king. This helps cash flow. And there's published papers about doing this. You're not sacrificing the next years of year 4, 5, 6 growth or yield. Trees are just going to be bigger, earlier, produce more, less breakage. These stakes will come out this winter. They'll be unnecessary for next year. Really, really important, I think, to pushing efficiency in the walnut industry. We need it now. It isn't easy money. Will it ever be easy money again? I kind of doubt it. So anyways, just wanted to show you what we see out here in early September of 2022 after planting in, I believe, early March. Very pleased. And these trees are so self-supporting, you'll actually see that a lot of them aren't tied to the stake. Or it was and it slipped down. They really grow in a manner where you almost, the stake is almost just an emergency device for probably this fall. And we'll get some big winds, of course, that come in October. And he'll probably want to put a good tie on these. That's probably the worst looking tree here. He looks pretty good for being planted as a bare root tree and left 9 feet tall. So I hope you found this interesting, and look forward to your comments.